Okay, and this is the Jameel Rawls Show, and what I'm going to be explaining a little bit about is the music industry and how I got into the music industry. There used to be a record label. I'm from Muskegon, Michigan, and most of my family lives in Muskegon Heights, but I have family that live downtown as well. And my father has a lot of children, and there's a lot of his children with his last name Rawls, and there's a lot of his children that never had his last name. But there was a record label called Fistful of Dollars. And if you're from Muskegon Heights, Michigan, you grew up in Muskegon Heights, Michigan in the 1990s or the late 80s, you're going to remember the people who created, if you were into music, if you were into rapping, you're going to remember the people who created Fistful of Dollars. Now, in Muskegon Heights, Michigan, people in the black community, people freestyle. There's an abundance of rappers. You're always going to find somebody who can rap. There's always going to be somebody who can freestyle. Even people who aren't good at it do it. The people who are better at it try to eventually get themselves recorded. Now you can record yourself like I'm recording myself here. You can record yourself on YouTube. You can pull out the camera, phone, and Android and start recording yourself. You can make MP3s. In today's world, you don't need a studio to be a rapper. You can just record yourself anytime you want to and mail your demos into a major label if that's how you feel. At that time, in the 1990s, people in the early 90s and mid 90s and even late 90s, people didn't have the ability to record themselves. They didn't have studio equipment. Studio equipment was really expensive. It was heavy. You had to have a place to set it all up. The more better quality of sound you wanted, you had to have installation, soundproof booths to record the music. Okay. In today's world, if you live in the Muskegon Heights area, within the area it's divided into different sections. You have the area called, more famously known as the West Side. Then you have an area known as the South Side. Now, when I was growing up, there was no such thing. I mean, there was a South Heights, but it wasn't. It was more like a Roosevelt Park type area. It was a nice area where all the houses had flowers and all this stuff, and there wasn't really any violent activity. There wasn't any drugs or anything like that. In today's world, the South Side of the Heights has become more known for street activity and street guys. It just so happens that a really close member of my family, somebody I've been knowing since I was a little boy, his nephews created that area and kind of made it what it was. Not in a pernicious, negative way, but they were instrumental in making that South area more well known. So you have people from that area that rap, right? But that didn't come till way later, okay? Predominantly, when you went to Muskegon Heights back in the 1990s, you just had an area known as the West Side. Then you had the area known as the Projects. Most of the other areas of the Heights, it was older people living there. You could go to a lot of different stores, and you really wouldn't see as much street activity. You wouldn't really see as much street activity. In today's world, you see all kinds of street activity when you go through the Heights or whatever. Then you have the downtown area. You have areas like Mason Street and Wood Street. Myself, I went through a punk prison and for stealing liquor out of a garage. I was with a bunch of young preppy guys, and they wanted some alcohol, so everybody just took the alcohol out of the garage, and the garage was open, but the garage was attached to the house. So it made it a serious offense. But at the time, I was 17. I didn't really know. I was still in high school. We just wanted some alcohol, and I didn't know the seriousness of it. And the outcome of it made it look more like it was like Jameel with a bunch of young preppy guys. Young preppy. I'm not trying to make it racial, but it was a bunch of young preppy white guys who lived in a really nice area of Michigan, and it was me and them. And so the court system looked at me and then looked at them, and I paid a stiffer penalty for it, and I ended up getting put on probation, and then the probation didn't work out, so I ended up going to a punk prison, and I ended up knowing when I got there, my actually a cousin of mine was a cousin-in-law. He was the head of all the black Muslims at the prison. And I didn't even know he was there. I just showed up at the prison, and it was up to 20. If you were 20 years old, you had to leave, and it was called Baldwin Prison in Michigan, and it was the roughest prison in Michigan, even rougher than Ionia. And Jackson State Prison is the second largest prison in the world. Jackson State Prison is the second largest walled prison in the world, but they've knocked a lot of the walls down, and so it isn't really that big of a big place anymore like that. But it's been closed. They're closing it down, I guess. But anyway, I grew up. I went to Baldwin. I met so I know everybody from Muskegon, like the Mason Street area, the Wood Street area, the area of the projects. Muskegon is really small. Muskegon's a really small place. If I don't know somebody, I know somebody they're related to, or they know somebody I'm related to. And so it's a very small area. And so I grew up around the guys who did the music from Fistful of Dollars. And they taught me everything about music, how to do the poor man's copyright, how to figure out distribution deals. And when I started getting involved with people, I started getting involved with actors and rappers. I'm gonna make a part 2 to this.